Hello, hello, hello. This is Adrienne Berg, and this is the Ageless Traveler. And this is another part of our wonderful series that I'm so excited about called Travel Bros, Men That Travel. These are the folks that really make a difference in travel for all of us. And for me personally, today I'm interviewing Philip Ferranti. He's so well known in the Coachella Valley, but all over the world, if you're a hiker. 140 great hikes in and near Palm Springs is one of his books. You may have it on your shelf right now. But the fact is that he's more than that. He's somebody who founded a club that helps us all hike, feel better, live longer, and take advantage of the wonderful nature around us. So, Philip, I'm so happy that you're with us today.
I'm happy to be here.
Well, let's dive right into this. I think when people think of you, they do think of your books. It is the Bible for hiking around here. And in many ways, it's also a model for hiking books around the world. So, how did it come? What part of your life brought you to decide to write this book?
Well, I started hiking when I was 7 years old. This was back in 1950. And I loved nature. I went and we went on Highway 111 in the Coachella Valley, where Indian Wells is now.
Very fancy place. Very fancy.
Yeah, and at the time, there was nothing except sand dunes. So as far as the eye could see, south of 111 was just sand dunes. And so we started hiking through the sand dunes all the way to the mountains. And on the way, my friend's father said, well, we're going to maybe make some money today. And I said, what do you mean? He says, well, look over there, there's some old miners' cabins. And the miners who used to mine gold up in Joshua Tree, some of them had built these little cabins in the back where Indian Wells is now. And we went into them, and my friend's father started prying up the floorboards and finding quarters and dimes that the miners had dropped.
Amazing. Amazing.
And I thought, well, this hiking is really cool. You can find money along the way and get healthy while you're doing it, right?
Yep.
And we got all the way to the back of Indian Wells. And the irony is that I went to the Indian Wells Country Club for my 50th high school reunion.
Wow.
And I was one of the speakers. And I said, the first time I was here was like 70 years ago or something. And it was just a sand dune at the time. So that got me going. And then in high school, my buddies loved to hike.
Yes.
And they would, say, let's go out to a place called the Mecca Hills, and we'd go out there. But the thing that really did it for me was in 1983. I spent the whole summer in England, Scotland, and Wales.
Yes.
3 months. And I had a chance in August of that year to hike with the Edinburgh Hiking Club. I mean, this is a hiking club hundreds of years old. And we did this incredible hike in the Pentland Hills above Edinburgh. And, you saw elk and deer and fox and everything. And it was just the wildest environment and so much fun. And, at the end of the day, we went to a 500-year-old pub. And in my mind, I said to myself, this was so much fun. I have to duplicate this somewhere. And I asked the president of their hiking club how they organized and what they did. And I kept that in the back of my mind. At the time, I was teaching and counseling at Coachella College of the Desert. And I started my first hiking group. I started there with the faculty. And this went on for a number of years. And then in 1992, 91, I went to Colorado for the summer. And I discovered the Colorado Mountain Club and became a member of their club. And I was just amazed at how large it was and how well organized. And I kind of found out what was the process by which you would start a hiking club. I put an ad in the newspaper in the Desert Sun.
Yeah.
And it said, avid hiker wants to start hiking club, call this number. And I got 20 people.
Wow. There are hundreds of people now that are part of the club, well over 600.
Oh, yeah, I think there's 850, 875. Yeah. And not only did I start the hiking club for Coachella Valley, I started 5 other hiking clubs. One is in Lake Arrowhead, Sun City,
Yes.
Del Webb, and the other one, their sister club, and Mountain View, a hiking club, country club. And I was a hiking guide for Andalusia and Bighorn and El Dorado and a bunch of others, Morningside. So I've had an impact by trying to get country clubs and RV parks to actually form their own hiking groups, which they have. And now almost every country club in the Coachella Valley just about has a hiking club.
That's right. And I belong to, and our listeners know I belong to something called free walkers, which is long distance walking, not hiking, but walking. That it now started very similarly. A fellow named Paul Kizak on the East Coast has about 1,200 people in the club now. Started with 10. So all of this is possible. And for those of you who are out there all over the world, all of this is possible. You can do it too. When we come back, we're going to take a little bit of a break. I'm going to ask Philip Ferranti, what has hiking done for your health? So we come back, we'll talk about the wonderful effects on longevity, your mindset, your health, the health that you've provided for others. For me, personally, just by having a hiking club and making it available to people. So don't you guys go anywhere. We will be right back. If you've been thinking about a cruise, I've definitely got you covered with Cruises It. Now, we have just become affiliated with them. And who are they? Well, Cruises It is the top agency for all the main cruise lines and some of the less known cruise lines as well. Cruises It has access to booking space that's been open years in advance, so you can get the best cabins. That's just number one. But they also make the prices lower. The cruise lines give Cruises It their own exclusive agency discounts. And if you're not from the cruise line, they have their own agency discounts that would apply as well. So you get both any discounts you would normally get on the cruise line, plus additional discounts that are given exclusively to Cruises It because they bring in so much business. On top of all those discount perks, when you book with them, you get the best rate guaranteed. And this is because Cruise Fare Watch system takes place. Now, what Cruises It does is it tracks the pricing until the final payment date. So you keep in mind that to get the best rate guaranteed, you have to use my site. We have affiliated with them specifically. I sat down, I met with them in Tucson, Arizona. I met with Marianne Weather. We've now become good friends. She gave me a direct line. Not only a link, which you can certainly use right away, but if you have questions, even a specific phone number. Cruises It offers this not just to anyone that is one of our followers, but if you have friends and family, you can bring them in too. So just take a look at the show notes and you will see our dedicated phone line and our dedicated link. Happy sailing. And now we are back. And we're back with a guy who is actually extremely well known. I would say he's a superstar around here. His name is Philip Ferranti. 140 Great Hikes in and near Palm Springs is the Bible of hiking. It's not the only book that he's associated with. It has regional coverage, San Jacinto Mountains, Joshua Tree, which Philip already mentioned, the Coachella Valley Preserve, so many Mecca Hills, which he mentioned, Santa Rosa Mountains. You're getting younger with every step you take. We do want to keep up our active lifestyle. And this is the quintessential way of doing it. What has it done for you personally?
It kept me mean and lean,
Yep.
my college weight,
Yep.
all through my, middle age and into retirement. But I wrote a book called Hiking, the Ultimate Prescription for Health and Wellness. And in it, I outlined the benefits of hiking. And in fact, that book was named by the American Hiking Society as the best hiking book in 20 years, like the past.
And we're going to have that on the show notes so that you guys can get
that. Amazon, you'll see it on Amazon.
Sure.
But basically, what hiking has done, it's given me an outlet for energy. You ever see a dog do the zoomies? When
run
dogs
run around. Yes.
Okay. So I'm a guy with a tremendous amount of energy, right? Italian, Sagittarian, the whole thing. And I just had to burn off some energy. And for years and years and years, I would do, maybe 3 or 4 hikes a week. I lead hikes. I mean, I've led thousands of hikes for groups, thousands. And I love solo hiking, just hiking with me and my dog. And you say, well, what's the benefit of solo hiking? And I would actually very, very strongly advise people to not only just do group hiking with your friends or a club or whatever, but go out into nature on your own. The psychological benefits are very strong. When you're with just yourself, you have to rely on yourself. And when you have to rely on yourself, everything from following the trail directions to figuring out problems as you hike, situations, you start to build confidence in yourself. You're self-reliant. It's a psychological mechanism by which I've gained a tremendous amount of confidence. Also, there's the spiritual aspect to hiking. And I used to do lectures, and I still do once in a while, on hiking and the benefits. And I point out to people, Jesus was a hiker, And in fact, there's a place in the Bible, he says, go out in nature and go in the wilderness like I do for 40 days, and connect. When Buddha he found enlightenment, what happened under the Bodhi tree was he had a flashback to when he was 5 years old. And the flashback was when he was really, really having fun walking in nature as a 5-year-old. And in that mindset of remembering what it felt like to be a 5-year-old in nature alone and connected to the universe, that is what gave him all the insights into Buddhism.
So fascinating. I'm going to double down on what you said, both about the spirituality and the physicality of this. I've been doing a lot of research on, as I said, longevity and aging. So number one of the things that moving and hiking and being by yourself does, and this is an NIH study, this is National Institute on Health study, is it takes away the self-imposed helplessness. You talk about confidence, giving you confidence and self-reliance. They call it self-imposed helplessness that older people get because people tell them they can't do it, no matter what it is. You can't do it. So when you do it anyway, you're thwarting all of that self-imposed helplessness, and you actually do live longer, not even just live better, but live longer, do more, move more. So that's certainly number one. And then the second part of it is the health benefits because you strengthen your cells when you walk. So that's the second part of it. So it really is both psychologically, right, and physically healthful and longevity producing. On the spiritual level, the idea of solo walking, because as I said, we're long distance walkers. It's great to walk in community. There's no doubt about it. But you do get into a meditative state when you walk, particularly long distances or hike by yourself. There's no doubt. But I want to throw that back at you for a minute, which is about solo walking, because we have so many people who are solo travelers. And that is safety. Now, first of all, you're a guy, because we're travel bros here. Second of all, you're walking with a dog many times. Do you do any precautions? I mean, in addition to random people in our mountains here, we have random snakes, we have random coyotes. Do you do anything that you would advise people to do to walk on their own in a safe way?
Well, one, I like to carry my hiking stick, which is formidable. It could serve as a protector, and I also carry bear spray.
Yes.
And I've actually encountered grizzly bear face to face. And I didn't have to use the bear spray. The grizzly bear thought that my aftershave wasn't good, so he ran away.
Very discerning bear. Okay, very good.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine? And this was in Canada near Whistler, of coming around a corner, and there is a grizzly bear 10 feet in front of you, and he stands up, and I look up into his face. That's how tall he was.
Yep.
And he thundered down on his front legs and ran as fast as he could away from me. Boy, that aftershave just doesn't work anymore.
No, it does not. It does not.
And so those are the only two things. And I can honestly say that in 73 years of hiking, I have never had a negative experience. I have never encountered anybody that was dangerous. I have never been threatened. And yet I have encountered mountain lions face to face, grizzly bears, and at least 20 black bears. I almost think I'm an animal whisperer. I've encountered bighorn that actually walk with me for a limited number of yards. They'll not be afraid of me, so that there's something about your vibe, that you give. But I have found that being alone is not threatening. It's self-confidence building. And it's one of the strangest things I could ever tell somebody about hiking is it helped make me wealthy.
Well, of course, you started by finding coins in a mine. So I would.
Yes, but what happened is I've been a student of the stock market for 45 years. And when I'm in nature hiking and I have a clear mind, an absolute clear mind, empty.
Yes.
All of a sudden, insights pop up in my mind. I don't even have to do the thinking; they just come, and it's because of a clear mind, an absolute clear mind. I sometimes get these insights, and they translate into a profitable trade in the stock market. And I didn't pursue this stuff; it just comes naturally. And I think to myself, who else did this? Wasn't Albert Einstein's one of his favorite ways of solving problems was taking a walk in the countryside?
Yes.
And meditating on what his theories were? And didn't Beethoven do the same thing when he wrote symphonies? He would take a walk in the Vienna woods and in his mind write symphonies. So there's a tremendous amount of creativity taking place when you're alone in nature.
That is so true. It's very hard to explain what happens when you're truly alone, but not lonely, because exactly that happens. So every one of my books, even my newsletters, and when I really get stuck, just go out, take a walk. And it's almost like a muscle that you exercise. When you get good at it, it happens by itself. At the beginning, you have to work a little bit at this. Your mind wanders. You wonder if you're going the right place. You get bored even. These are long distance walks. After a while, this meditative state comes over you, and you can be creative, whether it's making money, whether it's writing, whether it's getting your next issue in life, where you want to go. It's very difficult to explain because it has to be experienced. So when we come back, I want to talk about your book, and I want to talk about the content of this book, because it's a Bible for a reason. It's not just the Bible because it has a list of where to go. There's plenty of books that tell you where to go and the elevation and all of that. There's something more about this book that springs out from it. And it's a book that people should have, certainly if they're near here, because it's site specific. But it's also a book if you want to encourage yourself and inspire yourself to walk anywhere. So don't you guys go anywhere. We're going to be talking about the Bible of hiking, 140 great hikes in and near Palm Springs. We'll be right back. Do you love national parks as I do? Well, if you're 62 years or older, you can buy a $20 yearly pass or an $80 lifetime pass online. The pass covers entrance and standard amenity, day uses, recreation fees for pass holders, and their companions to more than 2,000 recreation sites managed not just by the National Park Service, but by Fish and Wildlife Service, Bureau of Land Management, Bureau of Reclamation, Forest Service, and the Army Corps of Engineers. At per-vehicle areas, this one pass covers all passengers in a non-commercial vehicle. And where per-person fees are charged, the pass covers up to 3 adult companions. Now, this is a bargain, and you'll find out all about it in our show notes and exactly where to go online to get your pass. And now we're back. We're back with Philip, who is the co-author of 140 Great Hikes. You gave us a good view of your inspiration in hiking and in starting the hiking club. But the book, when did that happen, and what was the inspiration for writing the book?
Well, I started the hiking club in 1992, and I've been hiking in the valley, Coachella Valley, for decades before that, right?
Yes.
But what I discovered was there were no books. You would go to the BLM office, Bureau of Land Management, they had nothing. They didn't have hiking books, they didn't have a hiking map, no one had created a hiking map yet. And so everything was just word of mouth, you know. And I realized, having been an author and have written books before, that what the Coachella Valley needed and what the hiking community needed was obviously a hiking book for the area. And I did my research and found out that no one had ever really done a book for this area solely. So in 1995, I wrote the first edition, which was 75 great hikes in and near Palm Springs.
Yes, yes.
5 years later, I came out with another edition, 100 great hikes. And then several years later, 120, and finally 140. And it's in color, published in 2000 by the foremost publisher and nature photographer. And I'll never forget, he looked at me and he says, I did my homework and I found out that no one had done anything in your area. So I wanted to be the publisher, and I quote him, the last great hiking book of the American West.
Wow, 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 wow. It is, in fact, a great book, and it's very important. It's very important because it helps you travel from anywhere in the world and come here, and it is a great destination for tourism. And it also helps you enjoy it in a way that you wouldn't if you were on a bus and off a bus, on a bus and off a bus.
And the latest edition, the 25th anniversary edition, has the best photographs I've ever taken. They're all very sharp, very good. And people get a chance, because the book is in color, they get a chance to see what will it look like if I go to this place.
Right.
You need to be able to show the potential hiker that the trail that they're going on, this is what it's going to look like. And that's what motivates them. So I was very pleased to really do a really good job with the photography.
Well, it is very important. It's very enticing, and that's why it's a book that people do own, even if they're not here. You mentioned the Pentland Mountains in Edinburgh and your experience there. So I spend a lot of time in Edinburgh, and there was a time not long ago that I was there every year for the past 10 years and hiked in the Pentland Mountains. But why? Because I saw a book. Because I saw a book when I was in college about walking the Pentlands. And then, as you said, I ended up there. It was always on my mind to go there. And it's the same thing with this book. You have it, you look at it, you say, I'm going to do that one day. I'm going to do that one. I'm going to see that cholla cactus. I want to see that. And it really is very, very enticing, intriguing, even if you're not in the area. If you're here, it's a must. I don't think anybody doesn't have that book in this Coachella Valley on their shelf somewhere and have used it. And I do want to tell you that your legacy is amazing. The idea of understanding what you're getting into and your pace. Now the club, and I did it twice, I'm going to do it again in a week, they do pacing hikes where everybody comes. It's not, it doesn't have to be strenuous or an easy walker. You just come and you find your own pace. You discover whether you're moderate, easy, strenuous, very strenuous, where you're at. And that is also very inspiring on an individual basis for your own self-confidence, because you know what you can do, and then you try to do a little more.
Yeah.
Now, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the best hikes. So don't you guys go anywhere. We'll be right back. Did you know that 3,000 people receive the Ageless Traveler newsletter every single Tuesday, and it's free of charge? Well, you simply subscribe on our website, agelesstraveler.com, when you see the pop-up, or take a look at the resource section that's in the show notes accompanying this episode. You'll also see how directly you can subscribe to our newsletter. Now, what will you find in there? Well, every single week, you will get news you can use about travel, cultural experiences you can enjoy, suggestions for luxury travel for less, and yes, I answer your questions. And you can even send me those questions by text or voicemail, and you'll see just how to do it when you receive your Travel Tuesday newsletter. Plenty of discounts, plenty of inspiration, so that you never stop traveling. That's agelesstraveler.com. Take a look at the pop-up, subscribe, or take a look at our resource list accompanying this and every episode, so that you get a direct link to Travel Tuesday. And now we are back. And there are people out there that are saying to themselves, I want to do this. I want to try this.
Well, as you know, the Coachella Valley has become the #1 winter hiking destination in the United States. And not just in the United States. Over the years, I have hosted hiking clubs from all over the world, from, Australia and England and everywhere else. They're looking for some place to get out of the winter.
Yes.
And they look around and they say, oh, the Coachella Valley in Palm Springs in January, it's 85.
It's beautiful out right now.
Yeah. And another thing that kind of is interesting is most people, until they come here for the first time, they don't realize that we're surrounded by 8 or 9 mountain ranges. They think the desert is like Phoenix, flat, as far as the eye could see, just and there's nothing there but desert. And when they get here, they're pleasantly surprised to see the mountains and how, let's face it, Mount San Jacinto is almost 11,000 feet tall.
We're surrounded by mountains. I look out the window now and I live in the desert, but I really don't. I'm right up against mountains.
So what does that mean? It means that within 50 miles of Palm Desert is the most geographically diversified area in the whole country. Within 50 miles, you could hike below sea level. You could hike in areas that look like, the Sonoran Desert and the Colorado and the Mojave. Then you could get into hill country up in the Santa Rosas, and I can take you to places that look like Pennsylvania. It's only 20 miles from Palm Desert. And then you can get all the way up to the high country in Idlewild and above, and you're in Canadian type Arctic conditions.
I've been there during the snow, and then I'll come down home and I'll go in my hot tub because it's hot. It's beautiful weather.
The diversity is incredible. And I remember the first couple of years that I started the club, I was leading hikes every weekend. And everybody always said the same thing. Every time you take us somewhere, it's different. And everybody comes out here anyway to escape the cold. But there's another aspect of hiking that I think goes missing. I've learned so much about botany, biology, and geology, and topography and geography by hiking. And I become a real geology nut, so to speak, because, we're in the Coachella Valley where the San Andreas Fault is. People probably don't know this, but the Pacific tectonic plate is formed by the San Jacinto and Santa Rosa Mountains. So we're looking at the front edge of the Pacific tectonic plate that goes all the way across the Pacific to Japan. And then when you look north, you see the Little San Bernardino Mountains and the Indio Hills. And now you're looking at the edge of the North American tectonic plate that goes all the way to Iceland. So the two plates come together in the Coachella Valley. And that's why we have all these mountain ranges, because of the uplift. So I've studied geology, and I've actually taken geologists out on hikes in the valley and asked them, give me your postgraduate seminar on geology as we hike. And I've learned so much. For instance, out in the Mecca Hills, there's one spot where the age of the rock is 1.2 billion years old. And it's only one spot. And you ask yourself, how could that be? And it's because everything above it has been sheared off and eroded away. And this deep area within the Earth's crust has been uplifted over time, and it's exposed. And it's, like I said, about 1.2 billion years old. So you could learn science hiking. And I just love, wherever I'm at, is to look at the geography and the geology and the botany of where I'm at. Plant life is interesting, species that you never see in an area where you live, but you go somewhere else and you see different things, and for people who have a scientific bent and are interested in nature and the study of nature, I think it was Newton Sir Isaac Newton said that all science begins and ends in nature.
As an older adult who studies aging, the word for in our gerontology world is biophilia. The love of nature is another factor in living longer. And in fact, if you are somebody who does healthcare design, hospitals, nursing homes, assisted livings, one of the things you're going to study is what plants to bring in, how to position the windows so that people can see and go out into nature. That's the biophilia part of it. But I hike in your club with somebody who loves to garden, and I love to garden. And we're both from the Northeast. So we're used to tulips and we're used to roses and we're used to that kind of thing. We get here and we say, there's nothing here. I'm telling you this now. You won't appreciate it. And then when you start to hike, you fall in love with the cacti and the variety of cacti and all of the desert plants. They're marvelous and they do flower and you have super blooms. Before you know it, you forget the roses, you forget the tulips, and you see the beauty of what's surrounding you, and you can look with a new eye. And you bring that with you wherever you go in the world. It does help you see the unfamiliar as more beautiful when you get used to this.
You said a word that's important. For years, I did stress management seminars and, for Fortune 500 companies and law firms and you name it, right? And one of the things I always shared with them is the best thing you could do for your managing stress is take up hiking. That's my number one recommendation, okay? And they would ask me why, what's the dynamics behind it, how will I be benefited? And I pointed out things like, do you know what the most pleasing color to the human eye is? It's green, the color green. That's the most pleasing to the human eye. What do you see when you go out in nature?
Yes, you see the
For
green.
the most part, you see green, right? So nature automatically calms your soul by giving you the color that the human psyche likes the best. And the second thing is the power of beauty itself.
Yes.
You could find yourself in situations that are breathtaking in nature, literally takes your breath away.
Yes.
And the beauty is not just inspiring, it's uplifting, heals the soul.
Yes.
And the calmness and the feel of connecting to beauty is very, very healing. It's the aesthetics of nature that I love. That's why we have landscape photographers.
Yes. And when we come back, I'm going to ask you the last question, and I honestly don't know if this is going to be good news or bad news. I'm going to ask you about conservation. To preserve this beauty takes some effort. But when we come back, we're going to talk about that. I would really want to get your take on where we are today when it comes to that, to conservation. Don't you guys go anywhere. We'll be right back. You may have been reading in our Travel Tuesday newsletters that travel increases your longevity. Over and over again, the research shows why. You make more connections, you thwart loneliness, and you simply have a great time. So why not get started now from your armchair? Simply go to agelesstraveler.com and see our invitation that asks you right on the homepage to join our Facebook salon. We call it a salon, not a group, because it's a place to meet people, to connect, to travel together, to share your travel experiences. So simply go to agelesstraveler.com and join our Facebook salon. And now we are back. And of course, we always are excited about the work of the people that I interview. And in this case, Philip Ferranti has a really important body of work. Among them are books, and you'll see all of the books. You can get them on Amazon on our show notes. He has a body of work because he has a legacy of having created real-life, ongoing clubs throughout the Coachella Valley that people are changing the way they feel. They're increasing their longevity. They're finding a home in a community. Many, many things. But in order to keep this legacy going, things have to go right from a conservation point of view. And there's a lot of efforts here and there's a lot of concerns.
You can't hike unless you have some place to hike. That's just the basic reality. Right. Now, we have the national park system, we have the state park system, and they're very good. There's no doubt about it. But what I'm happy to see is that there are many private entities like the Wildlands Conservancy out of Oak Glen, California, that buy up land to preserve it and to build trails and visitor centers for people to come and hike. People like Ted Turner, for instance, has done a lot of work in Montana with preserving the land, huge swaths of land that he's purchased for preservation. So I think the simplest way to, deal with this is ask somebody, even somebody living in a busy city, do you like visiting your local park in the city, whether it's, Golden Gate Park in San Francisco or Central Park in New York or the little park down in Peoria, do you, oh yeah, we love to go to the park, and people will say that they love to go to the park, picnics and take the kids and, okay, why do you like it? Okay, we like it because, it's nature and it's green and, it's quiet, all the good things, right? Okay. With that in mind, look at the whole country as a potential park that you have to preserve. You need large swaths of land to hike because trails go for miles and miles and miles. You need the land to be preserved to do that.
It doesn't matter where you are or where you're listening now. I don't care if you're some of my Swedish listeners or you're in Kansas or New York City. There is a group, some sort of nonprofit organization in your area that is devoted to the conservation of that area, of the local, whether they're cleaning up the park, right, or whether they are advocating in Albany, New York, for development to be stopped because they don't want to ruin the environment. Whatever it is, big and little, you've got a place to volunteer. And you've got a good reason, as Philip is saying, to keep this country green.
Well, can I add something to that?
Sure.
When I first started the club, I wrote an article for Backpacker magazine, and it's the only article they've ever published about hiking clubs. And I outlined how to start your own hiking club. Well, I got phone calls from all over the world. So one of the things that I would encourage people to, if you're interested, and you can give them my email address, some people might be interested in starting hiking clubs where they're at. And I'd be glad to talk to them. How do you do it? And what's the methodology, the best way to do it? The payoff is tremendous. My co-author, Hank Koenig, he was my cartographer. Okay. And he actually taught GPS to National Park Service people. So he was very good at that. But he passed away in 2007. And his wife said that being a member of our club was a lifesaver to her because the club came together in her hour of need, and it formed a community. And that's one of the best things about our hiking club, and I know other clubs, is that all of a sudden you're connected to like-minded people, people who have the same values as you, people who love nature, people who enjoy being together with other people who really like the wilderness and the wilderness experience, and you get to form a community. And I think that's one of the strongest aspects of any legacy that I've seen is what does it mean to be in a hiking community and to have friends that you never thought you'd ever have, right, to have experiences with people you never thought you'd have, and to realize that every year you have this fellowship of nature lovers that you're with. And it psychologically is very, very helpful as you age, yes, to be connected that way.
That is so true. There's an incredible book called Bowling Alone. It was done in the 1990s by a sociologist. And this is what he discovered. He discovered that more and more people were bowling, but the bowling leagues were disintegrating. So people were bowling alone. And that's the name of his book. And from then, the amount of stress-related diseases, psychological and physical, began to explode because, of course, he extrapolated that to other kinds of community that was disintegrating. Now, do you have your next hike planned, or do you hike simply every day?
Actually, I'm taking out a country club tomorrow hiking.
Tomorrow, okay.
And I'm going to take him out to the Mecca Hills. And when you write a book, the BLM said you can name everything. So I've named all the points of, like, the Cactus to Clouds Trail, and all the things in the Mecca Hills, Pyramid Canyon. I get to name everything.
Great.
And that's a lot of fun. And I'm taking the group in a place called Big Utah Canyon. And you think you're in Utah.
Right.
And then you climb to a hill, up a hill, and then you have an overlook. And the overlook shows you a reddish colored canyon beneath you with large swaths of white, thick layers. And that white layer is volcanic ash from a volcano that exploded 5 million years ago in Barstow. And it rained ash on Southern California. And that spot that I'm going to take him tomorrow is the only remaining spot you can see the ash formation from 5 million years ago. And it's very stunning. It's one of the hikes in my book, and it looks almost surrealistic. And it's another one of those reasons to hike. You get to see things that are kind of magic to your soul.
Yes. And I thank you so much. It's been so revealing, just as I expected it to be. A lot of people are going to be interested in making a club. And so we're going to make sure that your contact information that you are going to give us and give us permission will be in the show notes as well, and also in our newsletter. But this is what we mean by never stop traveling. Traveling doesn't always have to be getting on a plane. It could also be just lacing up your shoes. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Same here.
And for everybody else, you know what I'm going to say. Take a look, join our community, which is our Facebook salon on Facebook, and a free weekly newsletter, Travel Tuesday, covers everything that we do and a lot more, gives you all my hints, my tips, my hacks on traveling, and get our free books, our free ebooks. And they're all available when you subscribe to Travel Tuesday, free of charge on the Ageless Traveler. And never stop traveling.